CBS News has confirmed North Korea asked the United States to pay $2 million in hospital bills for Otto Warmbier before releasing him. Warmbier, an American student, was arrested in North Korea in 2016. He fell into a coma during his imprisonment and died soon after returning to the U.S. The Washington Post was first to report on the $2 million request. Joseph Yoon, the State Department's lead negotiator with North Korea at the time, signed a document promising payment. The Post reports President Trump instructed Yoon to sign the agreement, but the U.S. never intended to pay. In a statement today, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said, quote, "We do not comment on hostage negotiations, which is why they have been so successful during this administration." But today's revelations bring new attention to the Trump administration's handling of the Warmbier case. Earlier this year, President Trump was criticized for saying he believed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un when he claimed he knew nothing about Warmbier's treatment. As we mentioned, the Washington Post broke the Warmbier story. Eugene Scott is a political reporter there and joins me from their Washington newsroom. Eugene, welcome. Thank you for being with us. So how much backlash could the White House potentially face over this issue?
Significant backlash from those who have more questions than answers about how this all happened. The White House is not being especially forthcoming about the details of this negotiation. What we do know is that as recently as the end of September, the president said the United States government paid nothing to get Warmbier back. But it's not clear because there is documentation saying that the government would be paying for this release. And as of 2017, I believe, there was no record of any payment, and we're not getting any more information from Sarah Huckabee Sanders now.
Now, President Trump has frequently slammed the Obama administration for what he says were payments to get hostages released. I want to play some of what he had to say at a rally last May following the release of 3 Americans held hostage in North Korea.
Kim Jong-un did a great service to himself, to his country, by doing this. But those hostages came out with respect. We didn't pay for them. We're going to set the table. We're going to make a great deal for the world, for North Korea, for South Korea, for Japan, for China. So what he did was the right thing. But they came out for nothing, and the others came out for $1.8 billion in cash. Can you believe that?
So, Eugene, in light of comments like that, how much of a problem did these recent developments present for the president?
Well, first of all, it's not accurate that they came out for $1.8 billion in cash, and we have a fact checker, the Washington Post, online that viewers can check on to clarify that. But the real challenge is this will be a problem for critics of Trump. It won't be a problem for supporters of Trump. As you saw, his base is completely loyal to him, regardless of anything that he says, even if he goes back on what it is that he said he would do on the campaign trail. But those outside of the base do have questions, and questions about the negotiation process that the president has asked Americans to trust should be forthcoming, and certainly lawmakers will want to know more information. The likelihood of the president perhaps not being involved in anything acquiesce to North Korea to get Warmbier is pretty low, but we don't know the details of that yet, and so I think people are going to try to keep that at the forefront of the conversations moving forward, right, as other negotiations, hostage negotiations present themselves.
Okay, Eugene, switching topics now. The president is commenting on the Mueller report's findings about former White House counsel Don McGahn. Is there a sense inside the White House that McGahn's testimony could be particularly damaging as House Democrats continue their investigations?
Absolutely. Don McGahn is no longer in the White House for a reason. And so that is why the White House is entertaining asserting its executive privilege to prevent McGahn from testifying. What Democratic lawmakers want to know is whether the president attempted to obstruct justice and whether Don McGahn could provide more information that would allow them to draw a conclusion that Mueller did not clearly draw. Whether or not they'll be able to get that information is not yet clear. The White House said they're in the very early stages of trying trying to figure out whether or not they are going to be able to legally prevent McGahn from testifying.
And Eugene, the House Oversight Committee has requested that Stephen Miller testify before them on the administration's immigration policies. Now, the White House says they will not let Miller testify, but will allow other officials to do so. Why is the White House protecting Stephen Miller?
Well, I think there's some very real concern about the role that Stephen Miller has played in the Trump administration's most controversial immigration policies. But very specifically, what Democratic lawmakers want to know is whether the Trump administration let go of some senior Homeland Security officials because they would not violate the laws and rules set in place as the president perhaps has directed them to do so. We saw in the Mueller report there have been multiple examples of the president asking his top aides to do things that they themselves did not do because they thought they were unlawful. And the thought is that because Stephen Miller is arguably the figurehead of this administration's immigration policies, that he would have more information about whether or not something unethical and illegal was proposed that led to essentially the termination of these Homeland Security officials.
Very, very interesting. Now, Eugene, of course, this all begs the question, what are the repercussions for, ignoring all of these congressional subpoenas? And I want to play some of what House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings had to say Thursday when asked about the White House's response to their subpoenas and other requests. Let's take a listen.
The president is suing me because I'm doing my job, which is very interesting. And the president has made a decision that he is going to block every single effort that the Congress makes to find him accountable. But I want to promise the citizens of our state and the citizens of the country that I'm going to do my job. The Constitution says that it is our job to be a check on the executive branch. We are subpoenaing various documents and people.
Eugene, is this unprecedented, the executive branch just ignoring congressional subpoenas? And what steps can we expect House Democrats to take if the White House continues to resist their subpoena requests?
Well, we certainly have not seen this type of interaction in recent history, nor this tension. And I think one thing that many Americans may be forgetting when they're sitting at home watching this is that the executive branch and Congress have equal power, but that's not how things appear to be in this moment. What the Democratic-led Congress is likely going to do is try to respond with legal challenges. They'll attempt to go to the courts to see if they can get any assistance in helping this president become as transparent as Trump has suggested he wants to be. I think one of the real ramifications of all of this is heading into 2020, when Democratic lawmakers and their presumed nominee will repeatedly try to communicate to the American people that the president would not answer questions or have his aides answer questions or make information available that would be in the best interest of the voters. Trump on his side, of course, will always say that Congress was especially biased because they were led by Democrats and they were out for a witch hunt and perhaps not really trying to get information that would serve the American interests but serve their partisan preferences.
All right, Eugene Scott, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.